2026 isn't waiting on you, it's already turning the corner. The question is, are you steering your own wheel or letting the noise do the driving? You ever notice how the world keeps getting louder? Everyone's posting, proving, performing, trying to make their echo sound like a roar. But here's the quiet truth. The people who move the farthest make the least noise while they're moving. 2026 is the year to tighten your circle, lower your volume, and raise your standards. Not because the world doesn't deserve to hear you. No, because you deserve to hear yourself first. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is a strategy. It's where clarity comes from. It's where discipline is built. It's where you get honest about what you want, not what you're told to want. When you focus on yourself, you stop running someone else's race. You stop chasing applause that doesn't pay your peace. You stop explaining your dreams to people who don't even believe in their own. This is the year to walk into rooms with your work already done. The year to let results introduce you before you speak a word. The year to let your growth be so obvious that you don't have to announce it. So stay silent, stay centered, stay consistent. Work in the dark so your wins can shine in the light. You don't need to be seen every day. Just be undeniable when you are. Silence is often misunderstood as stepping back, giving up, or choosing not to participate, but in reality, it can be the most powerful strategy you have in your corner. When you choose silence intentionally, you're not disappearing, you're doubling down on yourself. You're choosing the kind of space where truth rises to the surface, where your instincts get sharper and where distractions lose their grip on you. In a world that constantly rewards noise, silence becomes a rare advantage because it allows you to operate on your own terms instead of reacting to every voice, opinion, or expectation thrown your way. There's a certain discipline in staying silent when everything around you begs for a reaction. It takes strength to resist the urge to explain yourself, justify your moves, or broadcast your progress just to prove that you're doing something. Every time you hold back from speaking too soon or too loudly, you're actually training yourself to act with purpose, not impulse. You're learning to conserve your energy for what matters instead of wasting it on what doesn't. Silence gives you that clarity about what you actually want, what direction you're heading, and what deserves your attention. In the quiet, you can finally hear your own voice without it being drowned out by the noise of comparison and competition. You can examine your goals without feeling pressured to match someone else's timeline or pace. Silence becomes a personal meeting room where you get to check in with yourself, refine your vision, and reevaluate your path. It's where you find out whether you've been moving with intention or simply moving because everyone else is. When you strip away the noise, you're left with the truth of what you really want. Not the version you post, not the one you think you should want, but the one that lives at your core. Choosing silence also protects the most delicate part of your journey, the building phase. When you're working on something meaningful, it's fragile at first. Sharing too soon invites doubt, opinions, and energy that can weaken your foundation before it's strong enough to stand on its own. Silence shields your progress while it's still forming, giving you time to experiment, fail, rework, and refine without an audience tracking your every move. It lets you grow without pressure and evolve without apology. Silence is where you regain control. Instead of reacting to life, you begin directing it. Instead of explaining yourself, you let your actions speak later. Instead of chasing validation, you start validating yourself. And in that shift, everything changes. You're no longer moved by judgment, noise, or unnecessary conflict because you learn that not every situation deserves your voice. Not every moment requires your response. Not every provocation is worth your energy. Silence helps you master restraint, and restraint is one of the most underrated forms of power. When you treat silence as a strategy, you're not running away from the world. You're preparing to show up stronger, clearer, and more grounded than before. It's the preparation before the performance, the stillness before the breakthrough, and the discipline that ultimately separates those who talk from those who do. Focusing on your inner work means turning your attention toward the parts of yourself that no one else can see but that shape everything you do. It's the work that happens before the results show, before the applause comes, before anyone knows what you're building. This kind of work demands honesty, real, uncomfortable honesty. You must be willing to look at your patterns, your habits, your motivations, and your weaknesses without flinching. You have to sit with the truth of who you are today so you can deliberately shape who you want to become. Growth doesn't start in public. It starts in those private moments when you choose discipline over distraction, progress over procrastination, and long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. Inner work is slow, subtle, and often silent. No one congratulates you for waking up earlier, cutting off unproductive habits, or choosing to stay focused when no one is watching. But these invisible choices are the very foundation of success. The world tends to celebrate results, not the revisions, the failures, or the nights spent trying again. But you cannot skip the inner stage, what looks like natural. Confidence or effortless skill on the outside is usually the result of hundreds of small internal victories. Moments where you could have quit but didn't. Moments where you could have complained but chose gratitude. Moments where you could have taken shortcuts but stayed committed to doing things right. Focusing on your inner work also means learning how to manage your emotions instead of letting them manage you. It's easy to blame circumstances, people, or luck when things don't go the way you hoped. It's much harder to examine your own reactions and ask yourself how you can grow from the experience. But this is where maturity takes root. When you take responsibility for your inner world, your thoughts, your attitude, your resilience, you stop being tossed around by every problem. You become steadier, clearer, more grounded. You start recognizing patterns in your behavior and shifting them with intention. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of drift. The deeper you go into your inner work, the more you discover how much power you actually hold. You realize that your mindset shapes your reality more than your circumstances do. You discover that discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom. You understand that consistency doesn't rely on motivation, it relies on commitment. And you begin to see that your biggest competition is not the person next to you, but the version of yourself that stays stuck in old habits. Doing this inner work builds a strength that doesn't shout, doesn't boast, and doesn't need validation. It just is. This kind of growth is rarely glamorous. It feels lonely at times because you're choosing long-term peace over temporary comfort. You're choosing to plant seeds instead of showing off empty soil. But every bit of inner work you do adds up. Eventually, what you've built inside becomes impossible to hide. You carry yourself differently. Why? You make decisions from a place of confidence rather than fear. You stop chasing approval because you've already approved of who you're becoming. And when your results finally appear, people will call it sudden, but you'll know it wasn't sudden at all. It was built day by day in the quiet work no one else saw. Protecting your energy from distractions means guarding the one resource that determines the direction and quality of your life. Energy is more valuable than time because you can have all the time in the world, but without the mental, emotional, and physical energy to use it, nothing meaningful gets done. Distractions are everywhere, on your screen, in your environment, in conversations, even in your own thoughts. They sneak in quietly and steal your momentum piece by piece. It's not usually the big interruptions that derail you, it's the small, constant ones that chip away at your focus until you're drained without realizing why. Most distractions don't show up looking dangerous. They show up as notifications, gossip, unnecessary obligations, comparison, drama, or the pressure to respond immediately to everything. They disguise themselves as harmless, but every distraction you entertain divides your attention. And every time your attention is divided, your growth slows. When you allow distractions to pull you from your goals, you begin drifting instead of steering. You start letting the outside world decide your priorities instead of choosing them yourself. Protecting your energy means recognizing this and taking back control. One of the most powerful steps you can take is becoming selective about what you engage with. Not every conversation deserves your reply. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Not every opinion deserves your reaction. When you stop giving your energy to things that do not move you forward, you create space for the things that do. Isn't about being selfish. It's about being responsible. You only have so much mental bandwidth each day, and if you spend it on noise, you won't have enough left for what actually matters. Protecting your energy also means being intentional about the people you allow into your life. Some people fuel you, inspire you, and challenge you to level up. Others drain you, distract you, or pull you into cycles you've outgrown. You can care about people and still set boundaries. You can be kind without being accessible to everyone. You can support others without sacrificing your own progress. When you stop surrounding yourself with chaos, you'll be surprised how quickly your mind clears and your productivity rises. There's also an internal side to distraction that's easy to ignore, the noise that comes from your own doubts, fears, and habits. Sometimes the distraction is procrastination disguised as productivity. Sometimes it's the urge to compare your path to someone else's. Sometimes it's the fear of failing, leading you to avoid the work altogether. Protecting your energy means confronting these internal patterns and learning to redirect your focus back to your goals. It means catching yourself when you slip into old habits and gently pulling yourself back on track. The more you protect your energy, the more momentum you build. Progress becomes smoother because your attention is no longer scattered. Ideas come easier because your mind isn't overloaded. Discipline feels natural because you're not constantly battling distractions. You begin to move with intention rather than noise, with purpose rather than pressure. The world will always try to pull your focus in 100 different directions, but when you learn to guard your energy fiercely, you preserve your power and direct it toward the life you're creating. Letting results speak louder than explanations means choose to put your energy into action instead of words. In a world where people constantly feel the need to announce their goals, justify their choices, and defend their progress, there's something powerful about staying focused on doing the work instead of talking about it. When you rely on results, you're choosing substance over spectacle. You're choosing to let what you build, what you improve, and what you accomplish be the message, not your promises, not your explanations, and not your attempts to convince others to see your vision. There's a natural temptation to explain yourself, especially when you're misunderstood or underestimated. You might feel the urge to tell people why you're making a certain move, why you're not available, or why your priorities have shifted. But those explanations drain time and emotion, and most of the time they aren't even necessary. The truth is, people don't need a speech to understand your direction. When your results appear, they'll speak clearly and powerfully, louder than anything you could have said earlier. They'll show your commitment, your discipline, and your growth in a way that words never can. Results have a way of silencing doubt, both from others and from within yourself. When you consistently take action, even small action, you build evidence that you're capable. You build proof, you build momentum, and every step forward becomes a quiet answer to any doubts you once had. There's no need to argue about your potential when your progress proves it. There's no need to justify your dreams when your dedication shows you meant every part of them. When results show up, you don't have to convince anyone. They can see it for themselves. Focusing on results also changes how you move. Instead of getting caught up in seeking validation, you start seeking improvement. Instead of worrying about how something looks, you focus on how it works. You become more interested in refining your craft than in broadcasting your effort. This shift protects your confidence because you're no longer tying it to whether others approve. You're anchoring it to your own progress, your own standards, and your own commitment. There's also a certain peace in letting results speak. You save yourself from unnecessary debates, explanations, or arguments about your choices. You stop needing to defend your path. You begin to value the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are working, grinding, and building even when no one sees it. And when the time comes for your work to show, it's undeniable. People might say it came out of nowhere, but you'll know the truth. It came from consistent action, not constant discussion. Choosing results over explanations isn't about hiding your journey. It's about honoring it. It means recognizing that your energy is too valuable to waste on convincing people who may not want to be convinced. It means understanding that growth doesn't need a spotlight to be real. It means trusting that the world will see your progress when it's ready to be seen. And when it does, your results will speak with a clarity and strength that no explanation could ever match. Moving quietly but intentionally means stepping into 2026 with a steady, deliberate mindset rather than rushing, announcing, or performing for the outside world. It's the difference between chasing attention and building momentum. When you move quietly, you're not hiding your ambition. You're protecting it. You're choosing to build without interference, without pressure, without the weight of expectations that often come when you publicize every step you take. Quiet movement is controlled movement. It's progress without noise, pressure, or distraction. It's the art of taking your time seriously. There's a unique strength in moving intently. It means every action has purpose behind it. You're not just checking boxes or staying busy. You're making deliberate choices that align with where you want your life to go. Intentional movement requires clarity. Clarity about what your priorities are, what your values are, and what you truly want. Without that clarity, you become reactive, letting life decide for you. But when you move with intention, you become the one steering. You decide what needs your attention, what can wait, and what doesn't belong in your life anymore. Moving quietly gives you the freedom to focus on the foundation instead of the appearance. You can learn, fail, adjust, and grow without an audience watching or judging your process. When people don't see every stage of your journey, they can't interfere with it. They can't rush you. They can't doubt your progress. They can't plant seeds of insecurity that pull you off track. Quiet movement creates space for you to experiment, to evolve, and to change direction when you need to without feeling like you owe anyone a justification. This kind of movement also builds an internal rhythm. You begin showing up for yourself consistently, not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. You make progress that compounds over time. You start to trust yourself more deeply because you see that you can follow through even when no one is watching. You become the person who doesn't need applause to stay motivated, who doesn't rely on external pressure to get things done. Quiet consistency is powerful because it is self-fueled. It's not about hype, it's about habits. As you move quietly, your actions start aligning with your long-term vision. You're no longer spending your days reacting to random demands or chasing distractions disguised as opportunities. You're filtering your decisions through a simple question: does this take me closer to the life I want? The answer is no. You walk away. That kind of clarity protects your energy and accelerates your progress more than people realize. What happens next is something people often misinterpret. When you move with intention and keep your head down, your results begin to show up in ways that look sudden to others. They see the outcome, but not the hours of quiet work behind it. They see the progress, but not the discipline that carried you through. Quiet work creates loud results. That's the paradox most people forget. The less noise you make while building, the more powerful your arrival becomes. Moving quietly but intentionally in 2026 is about owning your path, honoring your pace, and trusting that the work you put in, focused, consistent, and deliberate, will eventually speak for itself. It means you don't have to be everywhere, you don't have to announce everything, and you don't have to prove anything. You just have to keep moving, keep building, and keep showing up with purpose, even when no one is clapping. When you choose to focus on yourself and move in silence, you're not stepping away from the world. You're stepping into your power. You're reclaiming your time, your peace, and your direction. 2026 is not a year for noise, it's a year for alignment. A year to build quietly, grow deeply, and show up stronger than you've ever shown up before. Let your discipline speak for you. Let your results introduce you. Let your growth be the story no one saw coming. Stay steady, stay centered, and trust that the work you're doing behind the scenes is shaping a version of you that will be impossible to ignore. Your silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. Thank you for taking the time to listen, reflect, and invest in yourself. I appreciate your attention, your presence, and your openness to growth. As you step into the rest of your journey, may clarity guide you, discipline support you, and quiet confidence carry you forward. Take care, stay focused, and keep moving with intention. Your future self is already grateful for the choices you make today. Thank you, and goodbye for now.